Obviously I'd like to start my topic with the situation that happened to us last year, which was the unpredictable event of 2020 that has caused many of us to change the way we live, the way we work, the way we adapt to the new reality. And obviously the hit that was done to the global economy and how it has caused many businesses to fight for their lives. With that being said, we have clearly seen that online payments have become critically important for different business operators that were hit by social distancing and lockdown that varied from mild to severe across the globe, yet again, depending on the industry. However, this can also lead us to an interesting understanding that despite the negative effects of COVID, it has also acted as a major driving force behind the digitalization and rapid adaptation of different technologies. For example, MasterCard, in its recent report, they have claimed that 78% of all of the payments conducted in Europe were contactless, meaning that businesses have adopted such technologies as NFCs, QR codes, and other things that would allow to perform digital person-to-person kind of environment operations. At the same time, this also means that the consumers were more likely to abandon the cash in favor of digital payments, such as e-wallets like Apple Pay, Google Pay, and maybe some others, depending again on the region of their presence. Nevertheless, I'd say that the most curious aspect of the latter is that the innovation is sort of a reflection and shift of consumers' habits. Basically, technology is aimed at addressing the demand due to economic and social changes, be it pandemic or anything else, which is a very interesting concept if you think of it. And in fact, according to recent research, it has been stated that 3/4 of all of the European consumers intend to carry on using those digital payments as their main preferred kind of payment methods for whatever purposes, meaning that it's going to stay much longer and be even more digitalized in the future. The question here would be if it means that the innovation is the reaction to the circumstances that have reshaped the markets. I believe that the answer would be yes. And I'm convinced that the digitalization will carry on and even further increase and become more quick, more secure, more integrated and variable in terms of different options and opportunities and advantages that it offers to both businesses and consumers. In that case, I'd like to speak a little bit more about the speed. Speed of payments have been something that was viral for a long while, but only recently we've actually seen some significant shift towards increasing it. For example, it doesn't really matter whether we talk about B2B payments, P2P, B2P, whatever. All of them would like to have quick and instant settlements because it's been a problem for many businesses, especially taking into consideration the fact that, for example, Visa or MasterCard settlement must be cleared within 2 days' time before the money can be actually sent to the business, which actually is very important, especially if you have a very tight remittance sequence. Therefore, we've seen that the strive to increase speed was also supported by the regulatory bodies, such as PSD2, the Updated Payment Directive, that has supported and promoted SEPA as a main instrument in order to conduct instant payments in many cases, especially if the financial institution supports instant SEPA payments protocol. Additionally, I'd like to highlight the fact that the regulatory involvement is very important, I'd say critically important, because along with the initiative to further promote SEPA, PSD2 have also required on a legal basis all of the financial institutions to develop an open API so that different payment providers and companies that like to bring more quality and yet again speed and security to payments could use this information. Another interesting example would be a recent initiative that was created by MasterCard that has developed specific kind of model in which businesses could have been settled on their card instead of their bank accounts. And because they used the payout, P2P kind of payout operational model, they could have remit the money almost instantly because they didn't need to do all of the standard procedures that they would regularly do. But instead of that, they would simply match the operations on their side and use the very same MasterCard business card to actually make the settlement pretty much either by the end of the day or after the actual transaction has happened, which is extremely important. And I'm really glad to see that we can move in such direction. No matter how important the security is, I mean speed is, the security plays the major role, because if you try to build something very quick, very fancy, it may not be secure enough. So the balance between speed and security must be always present. And therefore, the next thing that will be shaping the future of e-commerce and online payments would definitely be security. On the regular basis, hundreds of companies globally are working hard to develop new means of protection against fraud, whether it's a company that does online payments or whether it's a company that actually does some fraud management solutions. They tend to always outpace the fraudsters because, surprisingly enough, the fraud rates grow on yearly basis and they're almost on the same level all the time. So I'd say it's like a cat and a mouse that tries to catch the mouse all the time and be more forward thinking. And therefore, for such companies as us, who are providers in terms of payments or any other providers, the security plays a critical role. And the sooner the likes of us and similar stakeholders start adapting different technologies, the more advantageous our position will be. And for example, we have seen that a lot of businesses have recently adopted multiple forms of multi-factor authentication, such as biometrics, one-time passwords, possessables, or combinations of such things. Obviously, the next big thing, which has been viral for a while, is the machine learning, because a large amount of data and machine learning can actually develop a pattern that can not only address the existing issues, but it may predict certain outcomes and address them before they happen. So yet again, because they realize the current situation, the current issues, and the growing statistics, and they try to address them. Again, governing bodies and regulatory frameworks would still play a very important role because, as I mentioned with regards to PSD2, they also promote so-called strong customer authentication that varies from different methods, and it also helps to further protect stakeholders within the online payments market by updating the existing technology along with the major market players, such as, for example, 3DS. 3DS 2.0, which has been recently announced, and then 3DS 2.1 and 2.2. So more of such things will come because we constantly keep seeing an increase in terms of fraud activity. So we definitely have to outpace it by any costs. No matter what is the payment method, the risk may vary, because if we talk about cards, there could be chargebacks. If we talk about online banking, there is no such thing as chargeback. So variety is a very important instrument, not only to reach out your target audience, but also to diversify the risks because of the different models and rails on which they operate. So it's for any business, it's important to offer variety now, and it will become even more important in the future. Obviously, Generation Z and millennials are the main driving force behind the digitalization of payments in the pre-COVID world. But it's different now, and stakeholders and business operators don't really have a chance to not being able to offer multiple digital payments, because if they left only to click and mortar or fully online environment, it's a must. So it's definitely gonna be more diversified with regards to different products such as e-wallets, online payments, online banking payments, because we have multiple SEPA options that are yet again promoted by PSD2, and many other things. However, it's important to ensure that you understand your target audience and that the variety is selected in accordance with the preferences of the target audience, with the unique customer experience, authorization time, geographical market preferences, and many other things. Because if we talk about crypto processing, for example, right, it usually is longer than authorization is typically longer than if we talk about card payments. And for some business cases, it may not be relevant, or vice versa. For some other businesses, it could be absolutely appealing. So it's very important to realize that the variety will keep growing, and each market is unique, each business type is unique, and each industry is unique. So you have to take into consideration all of those things and develop the most relevant and diversified portfolio of the payments that will be demanded in the future, because we can clearly see that it's much more different. In fact, in 2016, according to multiple researchers, it was one of the big years in e-commerce, because for the first time, the market share of alternative payments have overtaken credit card payments. It was 51 to 49, even though it wasn't significant in terms of the overall kind of market share, but still, it was a beginning of the major shift in terms of preferences. So relevance may be also tightly related to the integration and the way it's acts in the overall customer journey whenever they buy something from the website or from the online service provider, let's say. In the early days of e-commerce, it represented only a small portion of the sales and revenues, but over the last decade, and even slightly more than that, it has grown expansively, and it will continue to grow. The recent study has suggested that now more than 3 billion people globally use smartphones, and the internet users are represented by the 59% of the total population, meaning that the changes have already happened, and they're happening as we speak. So the demand for mobile devices would be obvious, and the SDKs and the payment pages that would be adapted to this particular environment. And the most important thing is that if we talk about the payments, the customer journey from the start point till the confirmation of the order after it has been paid, it's a single journey. They don't differentiate additional parts of it. And for them, it's extremely important to create as seamless customer experience as possible. So the future of payments in terms of the integration and user interfaces will continue to be more in depth. And they would definitely by any means try to avoid any redirects or other inconvenient methodology of displaying the payment pages or differentiate them from the overall customer journey. Obviously, we've been talking here about the habits and how people's habits and how they do things, what devices they use, actually shape the solutions that are being brought by the likes of us and many other service providers. So this may lead us to the question, so how do we actually create the innovation? Here, again, I like to look back for a while because historically, innovation is being held by such things as legacy systems, additional costs, and mindsets. Merchants across the globe still prefer to work with local, fairly outdated in terms of online payments, banks or well-established old-fashioned financial institutions that are offering multiple services to them, such as insurances, bank accounts, and many other things. And because of that, they sometimes may offer fairly low rates, close to buy rates, but at the same time, they are unable to address the needs of the modern companies, such as, again, alternative payment methods, more specific types of acquiring features, and many other things. So it's very hard to sometimes change the mindset of people because they tend to value the costs rather than values in the first place. Talking about the legacy systems, the situation is slightly different, but yet again, we can see more and more solutions are being offered on the market that allow to digitalize pretty much everything. And if you pay a careful attention to it, it's quite exciting how many things can improve your business even today. So I'd like to believe that the payment innovation, it's not about, or innovation in general, it's not about thinking about some alien technologies or thinking about some out of this world technologies, but it's rather something that can address the ever-changing and developing needs of the market and the customers. In fact, I'd rather suggest to associate word innovation with a strive and desire to do things that would make our life more easier, rather simpler. And with that being said, I believe that this is something that we need to breed as an idea whenever we try to do the innovation. This pandemic serves as a solid evidence of that, because we have seen that the pandemic has changed a lot of things. For example, people were more cautious about using cash because it was claimed to be one of the infection sources, so they tried to avoid it. And therefore, we have seen that businesses have adopted digital payments or other forms of contactless payments just to further help people to avoid this risk and carry on their operational activity during the lockdown, which was the social thing that happened. I mean, like, it's social factor along with economic factor as well. So the best way to create innovation is to evaluate the current situation with regards to social economic factors that are related to the target audience of each business, their preferences and common issues, and try to address them by employing different technologies. For example, yet again, innovation doesn't require you to recreate or rebuild a bicycle. It only incentivize businesses to think of how we can actually address the problems of our target audiences. For example, I really like to think about Apple Pay because Apple Pay have developed a very popular and successful payment method that is being actively used by myself, and probably you're fairly familiar with this method, which allows you to tokenize the card details on your device and subsequently use it across offline or online payments without the need to insert the card data. It also has the biometrics that can scan your face instantly, so it's hassle-free. And it's obviously very appealing. But if we think about this product on the other hand, the tricky part is that the tokenization, e-wallets, biometrics were introduced long before the Apple Pay has adopted them and introduced them to their customers. But what they simply did, they realized that there is some friction whenever you need to use to buy something for the first time, and you need to insert your card data again, and then you have some uncomfortable authentication, right? When you have to go to your device and maybe log in. So they simply addressed this by using technologies, which was a very smart way to build something that have become very successful as the result of it. So this example clearly demonstrates that the innovation is about careful analysis and understanding of your target audience. You can't simply build a very fancy product if it's not addressing the needs of the businesses, of the stakeholders that you're collaborating with. And I believe that each business process, along with that, is a living organism, be it product development or anything else. So you can't build a product that will last forever. It's simply impossible. And with that being said, you need to constantly update it, treat it like a living organism that requires to be updated, optimized, and cross-matched with the needs of the market and the environment in which it must operate, and deliver the best possible service to your target audience. So again, there's a very good phrase that says that the shadow of today holds the future. So I really like to promote this way of thinking and try to think of the ways on how today, using existing technologies, mixing them up, we can come up with something that will become the next unicorn tomorrow. And it's a rule of thumb that the technology will constantly grow along the payment mechanisms. So it's not that they're constantly very tightly related. It's rather that they're being inspired by each other. And therefore, I like to believe that the future of European and global online payments will definitely bring us more interesting products and will overcome the results of the previous decade and turn it into something else, because still the opportunities in e-commerce are magnificent, and there is plenty of more room for different innovations and very useful solutions. So thank you for your attention. I'm really glad to share my mindset with you, and I hope that it will help you to shape the innovation of tomorrow. No matter no matter if you do payments, if you do other automation, CRMs, anywhere.